I'm astonished. I mean, when we started it, okay, it was exciting, it was different, but nobody thought it was going to live in history in the way it has. I'm just absolutely gobsmacked, because not only do I meet people who saw it the first time around, I've met 3 generations, or however many it is on, who couldn't possibly have seen it then, and know everything about it.
I really can't believe it's 25 years since we all crowded into that famous blue studio. It seems like about 10 minutes ago, and I certainly still miss it, and I miss in particular not just the contestants, but that great cast of characters who stayed with me for nearly a decade.
It's very difficult to believe that 25 years have passed since the first episode of Knightmare.
25 years tallies with the amount of time that I've been an actor.
I'm amazed it's been that long. I hadn't realised it was 25 years. It's great, you know, it's good. Still people loving it, still people liking it, which is good.
I can't believe it was that long ago. I mean, I can remember now walking into the studios in Norwich 25 years ago.
Of course, there's that thing of 25 years. It's ridiculous, you know. I still think of it. It was a few years ago I did that.
Considering that I was grown up and working and relatively young 25 years ago, there's a degree of depression involved. Oh God, have I got that old?
There are probably middle-aged parents who are showing their kids, here, this was me, this was my moment of fame when I was on Knightmare. Even now, it seems a long time ago. Of course, things have changed since then, and well, kids today have access to far better special effects and far more complicated adventures on their computers than we could ever put together.
In my head, it sort of seems like a more recent show, because it's hard to believe that it did happen 25 years ago. It's hard to believe that anyone would come up with that concept such a long time ago. Long before PS3s and Xboxes and Nintendos.
It's really impressive that after 25 years there's still a huge cult following for the show.
It won awards and it's still being talked about after 25 years. Everywhere I go, people remember Knightmare with a passion and fondness, like it really marked out their childhood.
I think, you know, 25 years, due for a revival maybe, you know, it's what would it look like today, you know, could you recreate that? It'd probably be a lot, very different, very different.
It was exciting. Actually, it was probably the most exciting of all the things I've done, but it was also very, very scary, particularly in the early days. I mean, what a lot of people never really understood is that although the programme was recorded, we actually did it as live. That is to say, there were no rehearsals. We couldn't rehearse the children, otherwise it wouldn't be a contest. So you can imagine every moment was like this. We didn't know what was going to happen next.
The other thing that was amazing was doing these scenes in blue screen, sort of standing blue floor, blue walls, and on a blue on a raised blue platform, wearing any colour but blue, because if I was wearing anything blue it would just disappear. And this child in the helmet of justice, which was cunningly designed so he could only see a small circle a blue circle around his feet. So and then the people with tree guards see what the people on television see. Only I, the actor, and the crew and everybody else see that none of this is really here, and they react. And of course the children react brilliantly as if it's all real. It was a very clever way of getting around the kind of using the technology to best advantage, I thought.
I just felt it in my waters. It was absolutely stunning, and I knew it was going to work because the team behind it was so driven. They got all the best people in. Ros Inglis, who was the set designer, got Jean Père, the French special effects guy, in to work out the grids and get the geometry right. So it's just really exciting times.
I'd already been a TV professional about 15 years before we actually invented Knightmare, because I'd been a TV news reporter, so I was pretty used to the TV process. I suppose it's fair to say, though, that television really wasn't used to anything like Knightmare, and they hadn't seen it before. And it was very, very difficult to explain to television decision makers what I had in mind and what it was going to look like. And that was one of the reasons why we had to make 2 pilots for Knightmare. The first one in secret, and the second one almost a full dress rehearsal for the real thing.
I said it was scary because, you know, I was a stage actor. I'd never done anything like this in my life before, mind you, nor had anyone else. When Tim Child first alluded it to me, he explained it to me in great detail, and I said, yes. And he said, do you understand? I said, yes. I didn't understand a single word of what he was saying. But like all actors, you know, they say, can you write a whole sort of absalom or something? I said, yes, of course I can. And so when we first did a pilot for it, I hadn't a clue what was going on, not a clue. And then we did another pilot, I was a bit more clued up, and that's when we got commissioned. So when we actually got to do it, although I was still terrified, because you just do not know what's going to happen.
We were very lucky. They were desperate for something new in children's television. The right person listened to the pitch, and Knightmare made it.
Well, it was my first ever television that I'd ever done. I'd been out of drama school for 2 years at that point in time. I'd worked pretty much non-stop in theatre up and down the land, not just in Scotland, in England as well. And I think they cast the particular group of actors that they got for their theatre skills, because basically it was like live television. All of the bits that involved the children had to be done in a wide shot, and basically we had to just do whatever came into our heads, basically, because the children would come up with things, you had to respond to it then and there, and that's when the theatre skills came into place. But it was quite hairy, because like you had to, basically you're not getting a chance to stop, redo things. It's quite scary actually, but lots and lots of fun.
The joy of it was that we all came together, all the actors come together, and they rehearse, and then the show starts, and you stay together for the whole time. So it has a real collaborative feel. It's almost like a repertory theatre company all together for that time. It's very unusual for telly, because a lot of television you're brought in for your day or a couple of days here, and then you don't get that feel of sort of being together in something exciting.
There was a spirit of real camaraderie, and everybody got on with everybody else. Lots of fun. It's serious business fun, you know. When you're working, you've got to give it 100%. And I'm happy to say, very rarely did things go wrong, because it was the early days of that sort of technology. Working in an empty studio with a blue screen behind you or a green screen behind you, you had no idea what was happening. You only sort of got a flavour of things, or you were working on a floor and you were told, well, this is going to be happening here, and afterwards you went, oh, wow, this is fantastic. So credit to Tim for bringing it sort of to, if not fruition, certainly giving it a certain dimension. The very fact that we had to improvise some of it, and we were doing it almost live, the cameras kept running, is such a valuable thing to learn when you're young. Because when that camera was on you and other stuff, you've got that memory in the back of your head that anything could go wrong, just keep going. Make up something, it doesn't matter. Then you don't waste anybody's time. They can always use it. Even if it comes to the end of the scene or an actor forgets a line, he is still alive, it's still in the scene. And I think I learned that from my very first TV work, which was with Knightmare.
We had our sort of, if you like, our normal way of being and our character, and we had certain catchphrases, but thereafter it depended what you got coming from the contestants, of course. So I mean, for that side of things, to get that chance on TV, on children's TV, to do that, really good fun, really good fun.
I also got to do Tim's other project, Time Busters, and I even got to write one of the scripts for that, so I cannot complain that Tim and his production company didn't give me a good run for my money.
Tim wrote very well. He sort of had this very definite way of writing, and he said, that's the way you want it done, that's the way I want it done. Okay, keep it real. Okay, Tim. Great fun.
The only slight problem was you had any given script, you had 3 versions. Because, I mean, you had, so does Gumboil, for example, there'd be version A, version B, version C. I mean, and you'd know, sort of, if, for example, the team had met the other wall monster, Guy Standivan's wall monster, and had 3 questions to answer and got all 3 right, then I would know version A, they're going to have the password and they're going to know about the key, and they get through and this is what you do. If they only got 2 questions right, then I might get version B. Well, they will know about the part. They'll have the key, but they won't know the password. So this is what you do, and they probably die 2 or 3 rooms further on. Version 3, they didn't get anything right. Well, you know, sort of, and that never quite happened actually. You know, you get to kill them, but so you, and a day or so before, someone would say, well, they did the questions. They got 2 questions, so it'll be this one. And so the other 2 got put aside, and occasionally one of those got used several rooms, you know, several teams later on. Ah, I remember that one from somewhere.
My role in the early days was rather ambiguous because there was just me, so I had to be the menace, the threat, as well as the sort of guide. This was a quite difficult thing to accomplish. Also, I couldn't comment on anything because I couldn't comment to the children because I might be helping them or you know, leading them on. So that's when they introduced David Lerner as Bickle, which allowed us to talk to each other, you know, to comment on what was going on.
I arrived late. I was there for Series 4, and I came to it on the back of what we thought was a very successful series, the Satellite game. I played Larry the robot, for Tim Child, for the newly formed BSB with its square reels. And Tim, having known my work as Marvin the Paranoid Android in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I knew that there was Knightmare. Yeah, all right, I'd seen the odd episode, and I thought, Treguard, fantastically cast, Hugo Myatt, needed a foil. He needed somebody to trip him up, to get in the way, to make life difficult for him, and to also be there to help the adventurers along their way. So I put to Tim that this was a way forward. And he said, yeah. And that was my introduction to Knightmare.
David Lerner, as Pickle, was there to pick up the things that Treguard couldn't do in character. And he was, he had the harder job in my estimation. He had to guide the kids along the line and give them the warning. And
then, of course, eventually they brought in the Lord Fear character, so I could stop being a menace, a threat, and start being more of a avuncular old sort of knight in his little chamber.
I'd be in another, you know, in a set, you know, with some blue screen there, and he'd be on his set, because his set was real. Mine was completely fake. They built a little set for him, but for me, all I had was that, you know, big bowl which I could see things in, and the rest of it was all computer generated. So I could be anywhere in the studio, but it was all live. Talking to Treguard was live.
I have to say, I wasn't aware of the show for a number of years. The first time I ever encountered it was when Mark Knight, who I'd known for a few years, having worked with him in an actors company a few years previously, Mark told me that he was doing it, and I did dip into an episode to see what on earth it was that he was talking about. And he seemed to be having as much fun as I later found out that I had doing it.
Every scene I did with Cliff, who, you know, played my seneschal, tuna breath, as we used to call him, and everything else he did. Any scene I did with him was great. He was just always, he was good fun, he was always professional, and he'd run with anything you would do. So, you know, if we decided to go slightly differently, he would be there. I used to love working with Cliff. I worked with him before. In fact, that's how he got the job at Knightmare, was I recommended him to the guys at Knightmare, and he was great.
Mark's a good friend. He was the best man at my wedding. He was a terrible best man, but he was a very, very good actor and a fine Lord Fear. And we'd experienced being able to do banter with each other, to do improvisation with each other. So I think that all worked very, very well.
Oh, well, I mean, Mark had it, didn't he? Mark Knight. Lord Fear would have been a lovely character to play, but he played it brilliantly. I doubt if I could do it as well.
the good thing about it was you had short scenes to learn, which were easy enough to do. We often learned them in the makeup chair in the morning. So you'd be sitting there in makeup, getting all your makeup done and, you know, the hair done and everything, and you'd be learning your lines. And then Tim would, like, at lunchtime, he'd write some more scripts. We'd learn those, and we'd do those in the afternoon. But then you'd go on for the improv bits, you know, as our Walk or, you know, Rothbury or, you know, the Hugo Witless. And you would just, that was easy. Just get done up, walk in and go, oh, hello, chaps. All right, jolly, good. And you'd do something stupid. And it was great. Improvise as much as you like.
Yeah, we were very, very lucky with the actors we had. A lot of them were incredibly versatile. And you have to remember, they had a harder job in a way than I did, because they were improvising around the script. But they were improvising. It depended entirely on what the child said as to how they reacted. The trouble with improvising, you've got to be very, very disciplined. Otherwise, it goes off track. You're saying things which might be clever, but don't actually help the game. And then you've got to get back on track somehow. So I think they were absolutely brilliant the way they all did it.
I remember Hugo very, very well. Obviously, quite a lot of Folly's stuff was to Hugh, you know, the dungeon master up there. He was always speaking to him. So we had quite a close relationship, Hugo and I. We talked a lot, which is necessary as actors, because although I wasn't hearing him live, you know, I was responding to lines that were being read off the thing. That there was still some sort of relationship between us as well.
I thought he was terrific, actually, Hugo. I thought I loved the way he sort of created that sort of, that wonder, come on in, invited you into this world, these characters. I love the way he said that. It's terrific.
It was really cool being on Knightmare. I'd wanted to be on it since pretty much ever since I saw the very first episode, and I loved the show, and I was waiting for them to put out the address at some point so I could apply, but I had to wait a couple of seasons. And then my sister decided she wanted to be on it too, so we waited till she turned 11, and they put out the address and we applied. Didn't really ever expect to get on it. I wanted to be on it, but I didn't think I could actually get on it.
I remember everything happening very, very quickly. It was maybe a period of about 10 minutes between appearing on the set, being walked through our introductory sequence, and then being filmed. And somehow, for some reason, I'd expected it to feel slightly different once you were being filmed. I'm not quite sure why.
The technology, of course, I knew nothing about it, didn't understand it at all. I thought it was brilliant, but I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how it worked or anything. But the most scary thing is, you just do not know what the kids are going to do. You think you do, you work out every possible scenario that they could come up with. They always come up with something else. That's why it's scary.
Well, Knightmare.com has been around since 1999, so it's been around for over 10 years. It's had a huge effect on bringing fans of the show together. It contains a massive archive of all the different episodes, information about the characters and so on, and lots of fan-inspired work as well.
It's lovely to look back on. I don't want to do it all over again, because like most development producers, I'm always looking towards the future rather than the past.
I was originally doing freelance illustration, book jackets, computer game covers, magazines, and to add television to my portfolio was very valuable to me, and it really got me in places perhaps I wouldn't have got in before, because everywhere I went in the games industry they'd all heard of Knightmare and were avid followers.
What I can't believe is the new generation of fans that have got into it from it being on Challenge TV, the period and things like that. It seems like so many people have got into it now, which is great from having been made so long ago.
I still get quite a lot of fan mail. They ask for pictures. I don't send them pictures of me now. No, I send them pictures of me then. That's much better. So it is incredible. I'm astonished, and it's lovely. I've sort of carved a little niche in history, which I didn't really expect to do. I mean, in theatre, you do a play. Once it's over, it's gone. There's nothing left except perhaps a yellowing programme. That's all there is. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I think it's wonderful.
People did write, and I always try to write back if I can, if I've got something that I can send them, but it's been a long time. Sometimes I even get the occasional bit of fan mail now.
Lissard is the one I still get requests for photographs. All these years on, people still want a picture of me with a big green face. Makes me laugh.
I was looking at a clip the other, when was it, about 3 or 4 years ago, they showed it. I looked at myself and I thought, no, I'd do it completely differently now.
I'm fascinated by the computer graphics business, because I don't know sort of historically, but Knightmare must have been one of the first, if it wasn't the first, it must have been one of the first 3 or 4 programs on television where CGI played such a big part, and the way it's changed since. I mean, it was absolutely cutting edge when they did it, and now, of course, we've got Lord of the Rings and all these things, and so it's gone so far.
When I think how advanced the show was, it was so ahead of its time as far as computer games go. I mean, they were onto platform games like Lemmings at the time, which was just sideways scrolling computer games, and this was putting a human as an avatar into the computer to explore a 3D world.
I sort of think what the amazing thing is that if we were to use the technology we've got now, of course, to make something like that, it'd be so different, because it was all in the blue box and very, very different way of putting things together. But in a way, that was its joy as well, that it had that feel to it, and it was just a great sort of competition. There was a tension to it, really, really fantastic, and it broke new ground at the time. So sort of amazed at 25 years, but proud that I just sneaked in that last series and had a really good time on it. Enjoyed it very, very much.
I remember I was in the first 2 series, and every scene that we shot was in a room, in a corridor, inside. And they told me, I asked why this was, and they said, thing is, the computers aren't powerful enough yet to do an infinite landscape and out of doors, so we put it in a cave or a room or a whatever. After I left, the computers got more powerful, so you rode on Dragonback. But for the first 2 series, they may have wanted to, but they couldn't manage it, because the computers would just have gone blank after about what looked like 50 feet away. And to think that within 25 years you can do Sauron's entire army and all of that stuff. I mean, and though it, and so I think perhaps people have forgotten how, what they did to help develop that sort of thing, because it was a really original.
I didn't think 25 years later people would love Knightmare, but it's done, it's finished, it's all over. But apparently not. People still like it, and they still get involved in it, and I'm like, well, good. That's absolutely great.
Knightmare was unbelievable, unique, original, unrepeatable, unrepeated, apart from all those cable channels across the world. And part of my life that I wouldn't want to revisit, but I treasure, as probably one of the happiest times of my life, because it was so absorbing, and for an actor, it was the ultimate compliment. It was glorious.
Well, people who use social media have now realised that there are an awful lot of very, very good parodies of Knightmare out there on the internet at the moment. And often I'm asked whether or not I object to having the Mickey taken out of Knightmare in this fashion. My reply, I suppose, is that when we made Knightmare, we were painting our fantasy with a very broad brush, and we were also keeping our tongues very firmly in our cheeks. So we know what a good piss take is all about. And the answer to that is, please keep the parodies coming. More of them, please. We love them.
If they want to do another one, I'm ready. I can do that. We could do it, virtually from the USA. I could join in. That'd be great fun.
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to the Castle of Confusion. Phase with us now, for this is the time of adventure.
Pax vobiscum, young traveller. Paradisity.
Root and fen, root and fen.
Lootings and pillaging, lootings and pillaging.
Intruder alert, level 1, Gumboy on the Orange reporting.
Folly is my name, and folly is my nature. Foolishness my character, and fun my alma mater. Lordness.
Spit it out, tuna breath.
There, kidsies. Snipper snap, fool about, and we'll be back.
Tis the eye shield, master.
Goblin fodder!
Join us again for Knightmare. And just keep telling yourself, it's only a game.